Welcome to the Coffee Talk Podcast. This is intended for informational purposes only and not to be used as a primary basis for investment decisions. Consult your financial professional before making investment decisions. Shannon Ross is a registered representative and MBA of Lighthouse Financial. Lighthouse Financial offers securities and advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisories Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Shannon is CEO and managing financial partner of Lighthouse Financial. Cambridge and Lighthouse Financial are not affiliated. And now, here's your host, Shannon Ross.
Well, welcome, audience, of another Copy Talk episode. I hope you all are doing well. It's still back to school month in pretty much I guess not the East Coast. They start after Labor Day still. They're old school.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
But, so welcome. I'm glad you joined in today. Hello.
Is it morning? Is it afternoon? I'm lost
It's all
on
the
time
things.
today.
It depends what time zone you're watching in.
Well, I really want it to be Friday at 5.
Me
so
too.
That's how I feel
that's what we're
right now.
We have a doozy of a week.
We do.
We are on the tail end of it, which is the worst end. To be honest, it's rough today and tomorrow.
Yeah, today and tomorrow
So
are rough days.
We
But that's
probably
okay.
look a little tired. Yeah. I look a little tired.
I am
it's all right.
tired. I am
now you can see it.
I kind of wanted to rest my head on the table today, but Kelly said no, and Matt says that doesn't work with the mic, and so, I'm not going to. If I wanted to.
Well, you look very nice. You look very business today.
Well, we have meetings after this, so I had to put my big girl pants on today. Listen,
this
when winter comes,
I
this
know.
isn't. I hit the mic again. Sorry, Matt. This isn't going to happen anymore.
Yeah.
This is not.
The beanie will be a permanent.
The beanie will be permanent. I'll
Yeah.
have Uggs on. I'll have on a sweater.
We were talking today. One of our producers, Kelly, has super cute boots on, and I told her I was looking at my boots in my closet this morning, saying how much I miss wearing them because in Colorado, or if you live in other areas that have predominant winter throughout the year, my winter wardrobe is like twice the size as my summer wardrobe, and so it's dwindling quickly.
That's just not
so
how you like to live.
I wore my shirt last week.
You want it to be all summer.
I know. Well, I have all my summer clothes in Texas.
Oh, that's right.
So
that's true.
You know. It's
I am ready for boot season.
Yeah.
I am kind of ready for the change.
I'm not.
I know. Well,
there are benefits.
There are.
To it, so
I love
good.
the summer, but I always like the change into the fall.
Yeah.
We need to go
Seasons are
see
fun.
colors.
Oh, absolutely.
When that happens.
Colorado has beautiful fall colors. So
yeah,
if
we
any
do.
of you have not seen them yet, you should.
You
make
need
a
to
trip
come to
out 'cause
Colorado.
It really is worth
Yep.
it. Well, exciting news. We are on YouTube now.
Yay.
You can find us. We're still working on all of our search engine optimization. Big word for the day. But you can find us by typing in Copy Talk Podcast Investment. So if you use that,
Okay.
it will come right up. And I can tell you, our biggest fan of our YouTube channel is my 9-year-old son, Andrew. He is
Nugget?
so
Really? I call him
excited.
Nugget.
I showed it to him, and because to our little kids, YouTube is like, you're famous.
Oh,
if
we're big time.
So he's like, I already followed you. I rang the bell. I put a comment in. I'm giving it to all my friends at school today. So I think we might have a bunch of 9-year-olds.
Listen, we have
audience of
we
our
have
YouTube
told you it is never too young to start. Look at us.
So he will know more about investing, I think, than he ever
so-
wanted to know by 10 years old. So
I love that.
We have a very strong 9-year-old following. Was my point.
Well,
so
I'm excited. In the beginning, you remember my son was telling all of his friends, and they were following. But I don't think my son also doesn't know we're on YouTube.
yeah.
So maybe I need to pass that along. Although I'm not.
I know if we get our kids and their friends on, it might.
The feedback we might
erode
start
it a little
getting.
bit.
Yeah, we'll see.
But it's
It is
really
exciting.
good news
Yep.
because YouTube really helps us for you all to subscribe and like. We have our website, copytalkpodcast.com is now up. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on a lot of things. So thank you for subscribing and thank you for liking us. That helps us a lot. And our audience is so generous to us. So we really, really appreciate that. Before we get started, any sanity spends? I know it's not really August is really a back to the grindstone kind of month. So
We need a sanity spend this weekend after this week.
yes.
I believe you texted me about that earlier in the week.
I did. We haven't defined what that is, but we definitely
We're
need
gonna
a
figure it
reward of
out.
some kind to get through this
Maybe the
week.
pool. Maybe we should go to the pool
Yeah,
this
something
weekend.
like that.
It's probably one of the last weekends that will eventually start to close.
I know. So yes, we're all about rewards. Working hard,
Yes,
playing hard.
that's right.
That's a common practice
I
in
agree.
our households.
Yes.
For you and I, at least.
For you and I.
I don't know about anybody
I don't
else.
know.
But for us.
We make it a priority.
We do.
Yes.
So we are diving back in to emotional intelligence today. Last week, as you all know, because I know you tuned in, is we finished self-perception. So this is kind of self-perception being the root of all things. It's what's thinking's going on in between your two ears. Your internal world is self-expression or self-perception.
Yes.
So why it's the root is because a lot of our behaviors, our ability to make decisions, our ability to express ourselves, it really is impacted by what our internal world, how confident we are internally, what we think about ourselves internally, how we feel we're either failing at life or killing it, whatever season we might be in.
Or somewhere in between.
And then how aware are we of what we think about ourselves? How aware are we about, do we self-condemn? Do we have low self-worth? Are we struggling through?
What's our self-talk? Self-talk.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. And it can create ruts. It can create encouragement and create a whole slew of things. So if you missed it, go back 2 shows ago. We finished it up last week. So we're moving on to more of the external world now. And so we're going to tackle self-expression today. So this will be, I think, a kind of funny one because I'm going to give examples of all people that you know in your lives that will be high in some of these and low in some of these. So, but before that.
What? Anytime you do that, I get real nervous. I told disclaimer before the show started. I was like, sister, not today. No, on the spot, hard questions. Don't do it. Yes, I can. How long have I known you? I can see it on your face. When you're getting ready, it's there. All right, lay it on me.
Well, actually, I wanted to do that to show.
Oh, man.
So the first one is emotional expression. So it's verbal and nonverbal of communication. So when it's funny, April's one of, and probably reads me as well as my husband, if not better, in terms of I can be across the room, I can walk into a room, and she's like, "What? What's going on? What are you thinking?" Because it's all over my face.
But you're a T in Myers-Briggs. You're not.
I know, but I'm very expressive. I feel like in my nonverbals, I'm not as expressive in my verbals, but my face gives me away constantly. I feel like,
it's
because I can be like,
it's right here in the eyes. If you walk in a room and it's like you're hot to trot, something's happened, you're mad. I'm like, oh, that's when I'm like, and sit back.
Well, and what reminded me of this is I was over at your house for dinner a couple weeks ago, and you were cooking something that you knew I would frown upon.
Stop. I was not cooking.
Well, no. Well, you were making
because that's funny.
A sauce. You were melting something.
Butter.
One of our favorite foods is seafood and crab legs, and we had a couple of them for our dinner. And so April was getting it prepared, which is very kind of you. And I didn't even mean to say anything, but I would look over in the kitchen, and she's trying to melt margarine instead of butter.
Hold on. Country crock is good stuff. All right. It
is on toast. I agree with you.
Hold on.
I didn't mean to be rude, but you looked over. You're like, I know what you're thinking, that I'm not doing it right, and it is butter, and it's not margarine. And
I couldn't find any stick butter because my husband hid it somewhere in the depths of our fridge, and we got to melt something, and so I was putting it in. But what was funny is I'm scooping it out, and I'm trying to do it incognito because I'm like, if she sees me doing this, she is gonna. I look up, and sure enough, your eyes are like. I'm like, don't say a word, just don't. But fortunately, my husband saved the day because we ended up having stick butter. And so I scooped all of that out of the melting dish and put it back in country crock earlier this week. He opens it up. He goes, "Why is this all?" I
can't hide anything
because I stuck it back in there.
I know that's the problem.
Yeah,
I know.
I could feel it across the room. I knew you were looking at me.
So
you weren't going to say anything.
Oh no, of course not.
No, you wouldn't.
I'm at your house. You're sweet enough to get my favorite food.
Well,
I'm not going to be like that lady.
You were looking at me like you were about to throw up, looking at my country crock. It's fine. I'm fine with it.
So that's a good example.
Yes.
So emotional expression, again, openly expressing your feelings in your verbals and nonverbals. And so we see this a lot. Everyone out there, people who are very high maybe in emotional expression, and you know that because you never have to wonder what they're feeling. You never have to wonder what they think about things, or they are always willing to share. Yeah. And maybe they share a little too much. These are your TMI friends that
always putting their foot in their mouth. Maybe.
Oh, yes.
Would you say that?
Absolutely. Okay. I think they have kind of a tendency to kind of emotionally throw up on people sometimes. Yeah. You know, we all know those people. I'm sure we've all done it. I mean, I don't do it that
no,
part
you
that
don't
much.
at all. No.
But the expression, and I feel like that's one of the, again, why we're talking about this is it's about what tweaks can we make out there to know that these are actual skills that are a part of your emotional intelligence, whether you know you are emotionally intelligent or not, or you have to work on it or what have you. These, how it's broken down are really good tactical items, and it breaks it down in, I think, very easy to do steps of first becoming aware. Okay, let's think of emotional expression. What would people say if I interviewed, 10 of my closest relatives or friends? How would they rate me? Would they say, that I always overshare? Do they say I don't share enough? There are a lot of people out there, and I see these, especially in my counseling practice, is a lot of people with low emotional expression, they tend to keep it all in. How was your day? Fine. How are you? I'm fine. Fine is like their favorite word, right?
But they're not really fine.
And they're not really fine.
Yeah.
No one's ever really fine. That's like, that's part of a mask that we'll talk about more in the show.
Yeah.
But for those who tend to bury or be silent sufferers, the consequences of that are equally as great, because you are like sitting on this bomb that just keeps getting more lethal and lethal under the surface. And those emotions, because they're not being expressed in a healthy manner, they can start to leak out different ways. And we've talked about that. And so it can be where you get easily triggered and you snap at your spouse, or you snap at someone at work, or, you've been harboring so much that it just erupts all at once. Or it starts to manifest in psychosomatic ways. You start having an ulcer, or you start having sore throats, or, there's stomach issues.
Sore throats? Really?
Yeah. So there's a whole study of science that links
go on
emotion
you like the science route,
to parts of the body.
Yep.
And so when you're not feeling you're being heard, when you feel you're being dismissed, that usually shows up in either one of the two places: the stomach, which is kind of your second gut, if you will. So you'll have ulcers, you'll have stomach issues, because again, that emotion is almost being like stuck in, and it could increase your acidity in your stomach. It can do a whole bunch of things.
Well, and that's because you're not good at bringing your emotions to the surface.
That's right. That's right. And the throat is another one, because, and when it's interesting, you can think about it, like if you don't feel like you're having a voice in a matter, or you feel like you're being shushed or dismissed, it's like your actual vocal cords. It's like your actual voice feels muted, and it'll result in...
I'm going to have to research that one.
Yeah. Go
Ulcer,
for it.
I've heard.
You've already lost a bet to me this week. Do you really want to keep going there? I did get a free margarita out of it.
Yeah, you did.
So.
I know better.
I know. It's so fun, though.
Every
Thank you.
time.
Because it really does.
Well, I actually do it to make you
life.
feel better. That's the only reason. I already know the truth. I'm just pretending like I don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you. It
You're
was
welcome.
delicious.
Yeah.
So, how others see us. So, and I feel like you do this very well. I think you're very well attuned in your emotional expression. You get it out when you need to,
That I do.
But you're not one that, people, you're so strong in your interpersonal skills. Everyone loves you. Like, everyone's like, oh, April, you make me feel so good. You're so happy. You're always in a good mood. And, you're never, although, obviously you've gone through tumultuous times.
Sure.
Not everyone always knows exactly what's going on in your world.
Well, do you think somebody, because I feel the older I'm getting, I get stronger in this area. Because I've learned how to rein it in a little bit versus I think when I was younger, I was more expressive.
Sure. Yep.
And I let too many things bubble over the surface. I was too extreme.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm more balanced in this area now, although I've got room for improvement. But would you say that that's somebody who, if they're a mid-range in this area, then they are balanced in their expression, but they're still able to express without being hurtful to others?
Yes, absolutely. They're not, when someone's triggered, it's like the cap blows off and they just take it out on someone. Right. And so that's a sign of something unhealthy, but when you can have an active conversation, like, you still should express your emotion, because that's important. You want, in your marriage, you want your spouse and you to be on the same page. If you're having difficulties or fighting, you need to be able to express what's bothering you, what the point is, right? For all of us.
If you have one who doesn't express hardly at all,
Yeah.
and you have another that expresses too much,
that would be kind of catastrophic. Because one is harboring bitterness, right? They're letting it harbor. They're letting it increase. The other one's just beating the other poor soul down every day. It has a lot of dysfunction in it.
Yeah.
And so this is an area I think it's very. But what's interesting, if you're also very high in the way you express your emotions, but you are very low in how you see yourself, you could be a fake it till you make it kind of person, where you're constantly trying to be confident, but internally you're not very confident. So I think of like bullies in this way a little bit sometimes, because think of like a lot of bullies or had growing up on the playground, they tended to be insecure. They were insecure.
Well, they didn't seem that way at the time.
They didn't. They used their emotional expression almost as a mask and another part of self-expression, which we'll get to in a second. But they used it as a way of making up for that insecurity.
Well, that makes sense.
Right. And so
they're aggressive.
As we, again, our job here is not to talk about each skill, but how do they interact with one another? You know, if you have low self-esteem, low self-regard, low self-worth, but you have high emotional expression, people are gonna think, man, you're always in my face. You're really stubborn. You're just, you're very assertive, which is what we're going to talk about next. And this is why these are grouped together, because again, it's all about how people see us, because it's all about how we're portraying ourselves.
Okay. But I feel like I can be a fake it till I make it.
Well, we all can for a little bit. I mean, like, think about when you start a new job. Yeah.
Today, for example.
You're faking that everything's good. I'm fine. I'm all good. Life is roses.
Listen. When we sat down to the table today, I'm like, listen, I'm not. It's going to be a fake it till you make it today. Just being real, being authentic.
We all again, we're not the perfect versions of ourselves every day. No. We are human. But if we have the right tools and the language to at least understand, like, oh man, I just went off on that poor person. Number one, I should apologize. Number two, I need to figure out, like, what am I doing that's causing me to go off in triggers? I'm not taking enough time to be introspective. I'm not taking enough time to recognize what I might be going through, or emotions, or, life gets busy and sometimes our emotions get neglected. We kind of push them down and they don't go away. So because sometimes we're just trying to finish the day. That is amen to that.
5 o'clock to Friday.
Amen to that. So that's emotional expression. Make sense?
Okay. That makes sense.
All right.
I'm with you.
So let's go to the next one, assertiveness. And what's hilarious, this is, assertiveness is very much one that I feel like, and I can attest to this, because assertiveness, I'm like, I don't even know what that is. What's being assertive? I don't use that word very often.
Well, you brought that up the other day.
That is one of my highest scores. So I am very assertive. So it's like what's called a Johari window. It means like everyone knows it about you, but you might not know it about you as well. I do know it about me. I just don't call it that. I probably call it something else. So it's good to have a better language.
I keep hitting this microphone. Sorry, Matt.
But if you think of assertiveness, think of a piece of paper and draw a line down the center.
Okay.
And have passive on one side and aggressive on the other side. That's how you know where you are in assertive. Are you more passive? Are you passive aggressive? Kind of, you don't know which way, you're more aggressive in email than you are in person.
Yes.
You are more aggressive in text than you are in person. If you're just aggressive all the time, you're very assertive. Because aggression is not just about sharing your thoughts and your emotions and your opinions. It's about how you share those. So it's not just about openly sharing them, but it's about being non-offensive and non-destructive. I feel like our country gets like an F in this right now. I mean, you bring out words of masks or vaccines or Democrat or Republican, and you can
get
a
firestorm. Yes, it is.
I mean, people are thinking about like they have all their emotions like ready to.
Well, I feel like as a country, everything as a country collective, we're at the
no
boiling.
Matter what our positions
we're
are,
already boiled over
of each of those topics. We're all right on the surface, and with the right trigger, with the right beratement, with the right snarkiness out there, you've seen this happen in families. You've seen it happen with work colleagues. I mean, it's not just strangers anymore. I feel like it's really polarized.
Oh, it's polar.
A lot of internal relationships.
Well, it's broken up. I mean, literally families and friendships.
Yeah.
Over.
Yeah. And why? Because, again, the assertiveness is off the charts. People aren't being towards the middle where they're asking questions, where they're trying to understand where you're coming from, not to change their mind. Because if you're low on the assertive end, you're very passive, where you're wishy-washy. You're thinking, one day I'm not going to get the vaccine, and then someone gives you a hard time, and then you're like, okay, I'll go get it tomorrow, or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever it could be.
Okay.
But if you're passive, you're low on the assertiveness scale. You let people kind of walk all over you, bully you. You're not speaking for yourself. You're not in a healthy place of letting your thoughts and opinions and belief being known.
What is an assertive? Somebody's high on the assertive scale. How, in times of like high pressure, high stress, how do they react?
They tend to boss.
Okay.
This is how we're doing it. I don't care what you think. I'm not even going to ask what your feelings are about it. This is what we're doing.
You said that so naturally.
You know, do I know this side of it? Yes. Why? Because this is how my default is. But this has helped me get a language for it, because I don't want to bulldoze people, especially those I love, which we tend to do, right? We tend to be this way more so in our marital relationships, in our closest relationships, and certainly in our leadership positions. I learned long ago, and I continuously work on this. I don't want to rule by fear. I don't want to lead by fear. Mm-hmm. I want to lead by collaboration.
Well, you can be scary.
You know, You've seen it. It doesn't come out very often.
No. I've probably only seen it twice.
And it's not scary, and it's not overwhelming, but it gets very direct and very uncomfortable.
It's not a fun place to be in. I can tell you that.
I don't do it very often, unless I feel like I'm advocating for something that's.
Yeah, you're more passionate then.
Yeah,
like in a restaurant. Remember the story?
This is my story a couple weeks ago that I shared about defending an older woman in a restaurant. My assertiveness kind of took over.
Sure.
Where I wasn't operating out of reason. It was just pure assertive passion.
Yeah.
And so, but I feel like what I did realize in that moment, though, is I was not trying to offend. I was not trying to be destructive. And so for me, that's given language where before I wouldn't even cared. I wouldn't even thought about it. Like, who cares? Okay. Like, there's a mission at hand. But now, even when I feel like, yes, I'm sharing my thoughts and passion and beliefs, but I'm really trying not to do it destructively.
Sure.
And it's hard when you have passion behind something. And I think that's why our country
I think that's why we are
has suffered from this so much, because it's for passion. It's because people are equally passionate on both sides, but they've created this chasm, like yelling at each other, judging each other constantly.
Well, you think if you're passionate about something, you are wanting to have a discussion. Again, it's not necessarily. Sometimes you are trying to change somebody's mind. So what's so mind-boggling now is if somebody is passionate about their stance, whatever stance that may be, instead of talking to somebody and educating and having a mature discussion, they're so passionate that they berate, that they belittle, they put down. So you're not winning any wars there. Right. I mean, you're not winning anybody to your side. That's what's so mind-boggling about how intense things are right now, and how nobody's doing their sides any favors by the way that they're handling the pressure and the.
If you win that battle, but you annihilate your opponent, you're not winning.
You didn't win anything.
Yeah. In a marriage, in a fight, and with your kids, whatever. You can beat your kids over the head and win every argument, but what are you doing to that child?
Well, you're not really winning.
You're not winning.
No.
You know, it's not. That's not what it's about. And what's interesting is what I love about when you take the assessment. And again, we're signing up guests. If you want to take this assessment, we'll have a September class about it for those who want to take
do you
it.
think Andrew will sign up? Andrew and his friends.
We're not going to post that on YouTube, I think. So I think he won't know. But he doesn't really go to our website.
That's funny.
But copytalkpodcast.com.
Well, he will now. You just said it.
Yeah, I know. But what helps balance assertiveness? Because again, we're going through this thing. We haven't gotten to this skill yet, but it's a topic we all know is empathy. How you help yourself become better on the assertive scale. And again, assertiveness, it's not just about you're expressing your thoughts. It's how you're doing it. You're doing it in a destructive way if you're too high. You're doing it in a insulting way. So how to kind of dial that down is empathy. And how do you
that makes sense.
How do you increase in your empathy? You humble yourselves. And we've talked about this on other shows.
Yeah.
You humble, you ask questions, you try to get someone else's perspective and point of view.
Well, because you're really trying to get into their shoes for a moment to figure out where their opinions are coming from, or where their feelings are coming from, or what trauma they've been through, or what their story is essentially, so that you can better understand.
And I wish more of us would do that.
Yeah.
I think especially now. We need it, I think, more than ever.
More than ever.
Because I think everyone is everyone's own enemy in a drop of a hat. On one position, they might be friends. On another position, they might be enemies.
The problem is, though, is both sides are discrediting themselves.
Yeah.
And to where nobody listens. So
That's
now
true.
you've really won nothing, because nobody will listen to anything anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's an explosive topic. Assertiveness is very in front of all of our faces right now, whether you think you're assertive or not. But that's how to tell. You are high on the assertiveness if you're insulting everybody you're around. You're allowing your passion take over your emotions.
Big old mean bully.
And being very destructive in the process and leaving a wake behind you. That's how you know you've kind of taken it too far. But you also want a backbone. You know, we want people to speak their minds. We want people to feel like they are in an environment where they can share their opinion. Because if you feel beaten down, and we have a lot of listeners out there that have gone through very traumatic things, and you all know this, when you feel, or maybe you live in a home that you are with a very highly emotional, expressive, assertive, kind of dominant personality in your home as your spouse, you almost feel like you don't have any room. You don't have any room for emotions. You don't have any room for your opinion or beliefs.
Well, no, because they probably don't matter.
Right.
That's probably how you feel.
Because they are negated by their assertive spouse. Or a kid is in that same boat. So these are tools that we want to bring on the show because, again, we're all about adding value for your life. We have empowerment tracks, financial tracks. They're both meant to help you be the best version of yourself, help you make better decisions, help you feel like you have tangible tools to at least start to recognize what are some gaps that you might have. I have gaps. Assertiveness is definitely one of them. And then we can go on to the next one, which is another one. Self-expression is definitely my, I feel like Achilles heel of I need a lot of work in these. So you want to go to the third and last one?
Well, I was going to ask you a question.
Oh, I love questions.
Yeah.
I love questions because I'm working on my assertiveness. How can I help you?
Eye roll. I like cross-eyed and eye rolled. All of that. Okay, so how would you say that emotional expression and assertiveness tie into making financial decisions, either via retirement or certain investments that they want to make? I know we're not going into specific investments, but I mean, how do you think that plays a role in financial decision making?
I think being healthy in your assertiveness actually helps you feel empowered to make financial decisions. I think a lot of people who feel paralyzed, that they can't pull the trigger on anything, probably have lower assertiveness scores.
Okay. Because
they just don't trust themselves, they don't have confidence, they're just waiting for that next fact, and they just have paralyzed themselves because they don't have that internal self-confidence of, yes, let's do this. It's time. It's intentional. It's time to move.
Like when they come into the podcast reporting. I am not reporting. I am not reporting. When they come to the podcast recording every Thursday and they ask producer Matt and another blonde lady who we all can see and love several questions about the same investment every week. Because I haven't pulled the trigger. And every week I ask about it. And every week.
So you're showing a
Matt
good example.
Matt and Shannon tell me what to do.
Yes. So assertiveness is definitely, and I think assertiveness based on where your assessment and different things you want to improve on. That's one of those things. Now, again, I think you're more assertive in other areas. Why in finance? People are probably the least assertive in their finances because they feel like, oh, I'm not an expert. Oh, I don't have the confidence. Hence, another reason why we've built this show, because we want to build that. We want to be a safe place where people can learn because finances don't have to be intimidating. They don't have to be feared. They don't have to be dreaded. And so I think your financial assertiveness is probably one of the last to grow in. So maybe that's you.
It definitely is in the financial area, yes.
And then emotional expression, I feel like this is when, and we've talked about this several shows, the first half of this year was all finance. And so if you want some more financial tips, go back, listen to from January until basically June. We covered financial topics almost every single week. But one of the things that we covered is the damage one can make if they're overly emotional in their finances. If they start, in 2020, if they would have seen the market as they saw the market start to tank, and if they would have let emotion make a decision to pull all of their assets out, they would have missed the V-shaped recovery that it all recovered within a month's time.
Yeah.
But if they would have pulled out at the bottom, it would have been a 25-30% loss. And so you can see where emotion can be very dangerous, where you do have to use the facts. And those, when markets, as an owner of a financial firm, I can tell you when markets start to tank, your phone starts to ring off the hook because people's emotions are now being expressed. Mm-hmm. They're scared. They're angry. They want you to do, and it was wonderful during the V recovery in 2020. I was very proud of our clients because they listen to our advice and say, look, this is going to recover. Do not listen to what your emotions are telling you. And they were very obedient to that.
Don't jump off the cliff.
Yeah, don't jump off the cliff. And they didn't. And they were so grateful,
that they didn't.
as they hit June, that they're like, oh, thank God, which trained them, I think, to not let emotion take over necessarily.
Yeah.
But to be aware of them. And we would have a lot of good conversations because I wanted to meet them where they were. I understand why they're expressing concern and fear and all of those things. So it's not dismissing them. And it's letting them talk, letting them vent, letting them, get all of that out, but then bring them back to some logic, some facts, some level-headedness to make the decision.
Does retail therapy fall?
Oh, I think two things. And as we finish up, and then we'll finish self-expression next week. But think about, I think it hits two things. And I know people in both this category. I feel bad. My emotions are getting the most of me. So I'm going to spend a lot of money thinking that will make me feel better. And it does. It's a short-term
in the moment.
high.
In the moment.
Until the credit card bill comes, until the car payment is every month, until, whatever it might be. I think another thing is that those who, we talk a lot about giving on this show, and responsible giving, I think, is very important. Because if you do emotional giving without research and without, you can give gobs and gobs away, and then it's gone, and you're like, oh, why did I do that way? Sure. Just because you find out that only 50% is taken by the organization and 50% is fees or, whatever.
Well, unfortunately, manipulation falls into that.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Or you give money to a in-law or a brother or sister or whatever, and they, instead of being like, thanks, they're just back the next month, being like, hey,
I need some more, please.
To use some wisdom there.
Yeah.
And not just emotions, I think is just, it's just wise. So good question.
You're welcome.
All right.
That's why I'm here.
Well, actually, I'm glad that we're going to leave the last topic of self-expression to next week.
Okay.
Because I was feeling kind of down about this is not my favorite of the categories.
Really?
Because I feel like these are the areas that that have bit me in the butt.
Are we talking about independent? I mean, I know we're not going to talk about this. Be for next week.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
This one is.
I'll share why more next week.
How do I not know this?
Well, you
or
do.
Maybe I do.
I think you do.
Okay.
But we'll share more next week. So we'll continue self-expression on again. If you could join our YouTube channel, that would be great. Like it, send it to friends. Come visit us on our website, copytalkpodcast.com. Like
follow us on Instagram.
Yeah.
Send us a message.
Like us, follow us. I don't know what to say.
I don't know.
I'm not up to
Is that where you click the little heart and then hit follow?
Well, that's when Andrew was like, I ring the bell. I'm like, what
Ring
bell
the
are
bell?
you talking about? It's like a subscribe is a bell.
Oh, there's
on
a bell.
YouTube, so
I'm
we'll
glad
get
the
more
9-year-old
versed in
knows
this.
that. And we do
Andrew will
not.
give us lessons.
But we have a YouTube channel. Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
well, thank you. Have a great week.
Have a great day.
This is intended for informational purposes only and not to be used as a primary basis for investment decisions. Consult your financial professional before making investment decisions. Shannon Ross is a registered representative and MBA of Lighthouse Financial. Lighthouse Financial offers securities and advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisories Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Shannon is CEO and managing financial partner of Lighthouse Financial. Cambridge and Lighthouse Financial are not affiliated.